So it goes editing, outlining, brainstorming, drafting. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Another Struggling Writer, the beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. And I am excited because today we are embarking on a brand new journey together. That's right. Today I am officially getting started on a new project, my first new project in over 2 years. For the uninitiated, or if you are just stumbling on this channel, I have been working on a modern world urban fantasy since May of 2024. I have an entire vlog series on it that you can check out on my channel. The playlist is over 60 videos long, so if you're interested in that journey, I definitely recommend you check it out. But essentially, I have been documenting the process of writing a book from absolute zero start to hopefully getting an agent. I just turned in the third draft of that project in for a paid critique and sent it off to beta readers. And so while I wait for that feedback to come in, I have picked out a new project to be working on in the interim. That new project is tentatively titled Daughters of Necessity, and it is a sapphic adventure story set in a secondary world in a kingdom that has been ravaged by a magical plague that kind of mimics the effects of radiation. It affects not just the human body, but animals, plant life, the land itself. So this kingdom was devastated by this plague about 20 years ago, and our main two characters are embarking on a journey together to try and cure the plague and save their kingdom. That's kind of the broad strokes. That being said, I am basically back at square zero. I have a couple of basic ideas for this book, but not really a whole lot else. So I am returning back to the format I did for Seekers of Empyrean, which was I'm going to be brainstorming this new project in real time with you guys, pretty much. So today is Friday, August 7th. Regular viewers might be wondering why I didn't start this vlog earlier in the week like I tend to do, and the reason for that is twofold. The first being I was really enjoying not having to worry about writing or doing anything really in the days after I turned in Seekers. It was just really nice to not have to earmark a couple of hours every night to sit down and write, and so I took that time to enjoy myself. But there is a second reason, and that is that I really didn't know where to start. In fact, I was like going back and watching those old Seekers videos for inspiration to kind of figure out where I'm supposed to begin with this brainstorming process, because I kind of feel a little bit out of practice. But it occurred to me yesterday that what I probably should do first is do a brain dump, meaning just writing down everything I currently know about the project, whether that be about the characters, the setting, the magic system, things of that nature. Pretty much everything I know in one like brain dump word vomit. And then from there, I hope to be able to find some gaps that I need to fill in, and I can kind of figure out where I need to focus my energy from there. I do have kind of a soft goal to be done with the brainstorming process by the end of the month. So I've already lost a week. I really need to get a move on. As I said, it is Friday, August 7th, and it is actually just a few minutes ahead of my very first live stream in a long time. I think I did one about a year ago and then not since. Yes, I am trying once again to be a regular live streamer. We'll see if I do it in 2 weeks from today as I'm sitting down right now. But yeah, so I am going to go live here at 9 o'clock. And that is kind of my goal, to be pretty consistent with that every other week on Friday nights at 9. I am planning on utilizing that to sit down for a couple hours and get some real solid brainstorming done. That's where we're at. I'm so excited to be out of a drafting phase, even if it is only temporary, because the brainstorming and the outlining is almost my favorite part. I think I do love editing more, but I get up for the brainstorming and the outlining part. Well, I should say the outlining part. Brainstorming, it takes a little bit of a step behind. So it goes editing, outlining, brainstorming, drafting. But in either case, I'm just glad to be like in the weeds of a new project again. It's been a long time coming. I'm going to go ahead and get this live stream started, and I will check in with you guys afterwards to kind of let you know how this very first step of brainstorming this new project went.
Baby, pull me under. You're something to discover.
Okay, y'all, it is now just about 11 o'clock and I'm done. I'm done with my first stream in like a year and I had a lot of fun. I'm really glad I did it and I'm looking forward to doing more on Friday nights. I also got, I would say, a moderate amount of work done. I did a brain dump for the 5 principal characters. We've got the 2 main characters, the 2 love interests who are going on this adventure together, and then the 2 like mentor figures for both of those characters, and then the antagonist. The funny thing about the antagonist is I didn't really have one. I kind of had a vague idea, but to me, the primary antagonist is the situation. But over the last week or so, as I have started thinking more and more about this project, it occurred to me that it would probably be a wise choice to have an actual like central antagonist that I can rely on to be a menace throughout the plot rather than just utilizing different circumstances, which is still going to be a primary function or a primary component of the plot. Everywhere they go is just ravaged by this plague and has, like, the society is completely in pieces and in shambles, and throughout the narrative we explore that in different ways. And so yes, while the main antagonist is not going to be the primary driver of the conflict in every situation, I did feel that it was important to have a central antagonist. Will I change that later? I don't know, maybe, but this is definitely going to be an antagonist that is not like, I don't know, I can see a scenario where this antagonist kind of takes a back seat in terms of like how shitty everything in the world is and what the characters have to contend with. Obviously, the antagonist is still going to be present and still going to be felt, but I don't know, I kind of see it as like a 50-50 split between the primary antagonist and the situation, the circumstances of a 20-year plague and what effect that has had on this kingdom. The other thing I think I neglected to mention earlier, and I'm going to do a video. Actually, it probably is already out now. I get myself all jacked up with my schedule, but yeah, I'm going to do an explainer video on everything, all the ideas I have for Daughters, just like as an introduction. What was I going to mention? Oh well, I guess it is not that important. I'm tired. Anyway, so I did that, and then so I did that for the characters, and then I moved on to discussing in more detail the setting, which I have certain ideas for. As you guys know, I am not super visual, and so thinking about like the shape and the look of where this devastated kingdom sits on a map has been something I've had to put a lot of effort into, and I'm still not entirely confident that it makes a lot of sense because, that's what I was going to say earlier. One key component of the setting and how this magical plague was able to devastate this kingdom so completely is that they're kind of sealed off. They have like a natural mountain range at the north part of their kingdom, and with like one central pass that people can use to get in and out of the kingdom that was then sealed off to keep the plague from, traveling north. And then they are on the very southern tip of the continent, so it's like really, really rough, rocky, like coast and ocean. So they don't have like the common people of this kingdom didn't really have a way to get out. And so that is the other reason why this plague was able to so effectively decimate the kingdom. Anyway, I'm sure I have talked about this in the future past. I also have some other thinky thoughts about like a big river that cuts through the entire kingdom and then empties into the ocean, and that being like a really major like central focus, like a plot point is going to happen there, because in the early days of a plague, when a sorcerer tried to harness the power of the river to stop the plague, and what he did was like made it like 100 times worse. And the river is no longer a river. It's just like barren wasteland. So I've got that. And then I've also wanted to include like a haunted forest, which I actually did want to do even before I got the Darkwoods Tarot deck. It was definitely a component of like the very first like pantsed 20,000 words that I wrote for this originally like 4 or 5 years ago. But the seeing those like those like tree creatures in the Darkwoods Tarot really reinforced kind of what I want to do with that haunted forest. And then there's a salt marsh where a crotchety old wizard lives. Yeah, so I've got some ideas that I'm still working on for the setting. Once I'm done kind of brain dumping all of that, tomorrow I think I will work on the plot and the magic system. I talked a little bit about it in tonight's stream, but I'm really, really, really jazzed about the magic system. I originally had a completely different idea, and then I sort of fell out of love with it. Fortunately, I was still in the brainstorming phase, so I was able to kind of take a step back and reevaluate and came up with something that I am way more excited about and I think makes so much more sense for what I'm trying to accomplish. And it just, I just think it makes it more engaging. And it helped me realize that I really like developing cool magic systems. I am not well read enough to know if they're completely unique, but they've definitely, this one and the one for Seekers has definitely been really fun to develop. And by taking a step back from my original idea for the original magic system, I can lift it out and plug it into another story somewhere later down the line and still have that available where in a scenario where it makes more sense. I think I already know which project too, but that is like way down the line. Anyway, so it was really good. I haven't counted the words yet because I hand wrote all my notes. Although I just forgot to show you guys. Yes, so we had the notebook for Seekers. This is going to be my brainstorming, outlining notebook for daughters. I love the way the pages feel. Love it. So that is a wrap on day 1 of getting into this new project. I would love to say that I got new ideas, but I didn't, but that wasn't really the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is to get everything I already know out onto the page so I can start seeing where the gaps are. And like, for example, the antagonist is a major gap. I had like a very basic idea, but he still needs some work. And that, because of the nature of the antagonist, will help me like flesh out aspects of the setting because of the plague devastating this kingdom. Like all of like the political structures and the economic structures are in shambles, and so everything is just going to be kind of woven in together. And I'm excited to continue developing it. This has been really, really fun. So like I said, tomorrow I'm going to get back into it, but for now I'm going to go rest my wrist and get some sleep. So talk to y'all later. Hey, good morning. It is now Sunday morning, and I didn't vlog at all yesterday. This might end up being the most boring project launch in the history of authortube, but it is what it is. I did do some work though, and some really good work, I feel like. I did continue my brain dump as the first step of this brainstorming process for Daughters of Necessity. I finished up the like notable features that I wanted to include in this kingdom, in this setting. It's not a complete list. Of course, there's going to be more notable features, but I finished out the ones that I already know about, which is the whole point of the brain dump. But as part of that process, I really wanted to try and start thinking about the map, which has been a source of anxiety for me because I'm not visually creative. I really struggle to do this part of things. I've relied on generators in the past, and that has been really helpful. But for this specific story in this specific kingdom, I had too many specific needs to really rely on a generator reliably. It's Sunday morning. Give me a break. I was feeling a little bit nervous about that. I had been recommended Incarnate for map making, and I've looked at it in the past, and I looked at it again last night, and it's just it relies on your own creativity too much, and I just am not anyway, it's just not a tool for me. I have zero artistic skills and zero imagination, as you guys know. So something like that isn't really helpful for me. But then someone in the Discord recommended I take like a real world landmass and then just flip it and utilize that even as just a jumping off point. And that ended up being like really, really helpful because I took a real world landmass, specifically the Horn of Africa, and I just kind of turned it on its side. And then I just started playing with the topography in Canva. I just like pasted the image in Canva and just started cutting and pasting things. And it's extremely ugly. I'm not even going to show you what it looks like right now, but this obviously isn't going to be something that is put in the book. This is really just for me to start visualizing the landmass. And it's an adventure story taking place in this kingdom. So I kind of need to know what the layout is and where everything is positioned. So it really did help me because there's like a big river that cuts through the entire kingdom, and where it empties into the ocean, I needed to know that. And just playing with this little image in Canva helped me realize that certain landmarks can't be where I originally want them if I want this river to exist and all this stuff. So I played with that for about 45 minutes and got it to a position and got it to a place where I'm like pretty, I'm like happy with it. It's hard to say I'm happy with it because it's incomplete and it's just literally like a Picasso of what used to be the Horn of Africa. But it helped me here kind of understand the layout of the kingdom better. So my plan for that is like, anyway, I've got plans to help kind of get it more, to develop it more. So then I did that, and then I did the magic, at least part of the magic system, like the very, very basics of how it works. The next thing I need to do with the magic system is the same thing that I did with Seekers, which is discuss and determine what it is and is not capable of. This was a big point of thought and internal discussion with Seekers because I didn't want it to be capable of too many like impossible things that would damage the narrative. I don't think I'm going to have too many problems with this magic system though. It feels pretty solid in my head. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish that today. And then I'm going to then the last thing I need to work on for this brain dump is just everything I know about the plot. Obviously, I know what the central goal and conflict is. I know the beginning and the ending. And I've got some key beats that I want to hit, some key scenes. But I just need to write all of those down and get them out of my head and onto the page. And then that is everything for my brain dump. So I think I'm going to target to have all of that done by the end of the day so that next week I can really start actually filling in the gaps. This weekend was really just about what do I already know about everything to do with this book. So that's the update. Sorry that I have apparently forgotten how to vlog in the last week, but it has truly just been so nice to not worry about a deadline or hitting a certain number or amount of minutes that I'm working. Yeah, I've just been taking it easy, but I do want to get back into a regular rhythm because I do want to capitalize on the energy I had going into the end of Seekers and keep pushing forward so I can establish a regular writing practice even when I'm not drafting, if that makes sense. So I don't want to take too many more lazy days. I want to get back into it and start really thinking about it, which is why I have the kind of soft deadline of finishing the world building by the end of the month and then using September to outline. Really, and I haven't talked about this yet, but really I was thinking maybe I could do Finish Your Book Fall again and start drafting on September 22nd. But I just don't know that I would have enough time to completely do the world building and outline by the 22nd. Although I could. July taught me so much about myself, y'all, that if I really put my mind to it and I have a really firm deadline, really firm, that I can do way more than I ever thought possible. So I don't know. I'm going to think on that. I'll talk to y'all later.
Let me explore your wonder. A little excavation, a little less conversation. Let me explore your hunger. A little bit to the south, a little bit a little bit more amplified. Let me explore you now. Hush now, pull me close. Your lips with no syllables. Come over, locate near me. Let's find the time, see where this will lead.
Stay here for the night. I feel more than butterflies. You're more than just another. My heart beats every time.
Hey y'all, just checking in for a quick reading update. I have just finished the first 10% of Catabasis by Arthur. And you know what?
Don't want this to go south. Let's kick it up on the east side and see what this is.
Hey y'all, we're gonna do this really fast because at the end of the workday I started feeling a migraine coming on and I can tell I'm not gonna be much use for the rest of the day. It is now Monday evening, and yesterday I got quite a bit done. I got up, I did my homework, I put together that cabinet, which I don't know if I explained is for my trash because my old garbage eating dog won't stay out of the trash can, and we have tried literally everything we could think of and she still figures out a way to get into it. So if this fails, I don't know what else we're gonna do, but it's literally a cabinet that you have to pull open to access the trash. So I did that. I filmed 2 videos and edited both videos. I did some more homework. I did some cleaning up, a lot of laundry. The one thing I didn't really do was work on that last section of the brain dump that I mentioned, but I did dwell on it quite a bit. I did have my notebook out at one point, and the reason I didn't really work on it was because I think I mentioned that it's the section where I'm discussing what magic can and cannot do, and I think the part of the reason that I was resisting working on it is because I don't really want this magic system to have as many hard and fast rules as the magic system from Seekers did. I really liked how technical and how specific and how mechanical the magic system was in Seekers, even though it did test my creativity in ways that I still haven't fully expanded yet. But I do want this magic system to be a lot more loosey-goosey. It does have rules. If you watched my last video where I discuss everything I already know about this book and all of the key components, I talked about the magic system, which is focused on the concept of ley lines, but not ley lines that you might be thinking of, ley lines that originate from the magic user and that they put into the earth, because the earth is where magic originates, and the ley lines act as conduits or like veins to tap into the magic. And you can build your ley lines in one of 2 ways. Typically you can build them wide, where you have a physical area where the physical area of your ley lines is wider and broader, or you can build them deep where your physical area might be smaller, but by building deep, you gain access to stronger and stronger and stronger magic the deeper you go. Whereas the wide way of doing things means you can cast magic over a greater area, but it's going to be less potent as a result. That's the idea. So there's a trade-off in both. And so as I was sitting down and thinking about it, even today, I revisited it just to see if there was anything I wanted to put down firmly on paper. And yes, I could get somewhat technical and divvy up what layers of depth you might need to build your ley lines in order to unlock this level of magic and these kinds of spells, but I don't think I want to do that. I think I just want to let this magic system be a little bit more loosey-goosey. It is a key tenet of building a magic system that it has to have limitations, and I already have those limitations built into the ley line system. So a sorcerer can really only cast spells effectively when they're on top of their ley lines, and so you can see why a sorcerer might build wide, but then they limit the access to the powerful magic. Whereas if you build deep, yes, you get access to that magic, but it's only for a very small area. So those are the limitations that I've already introduced into the system. I don't feel like I need to build in anymore. I don't feel like I need to start saying, well, magic can't do this and magic can't do that, and magic, like I did with Seekers. I just want to leave it kind of loosey-goosey and just kind of play it by ear. And it's going to be really situational based on which magic user in the narrative we're observing or interacting with, because it's going to depend on how they built their ley lines. And yes, that does feel like a little bit of a cop-out, but that is a key function of this system. So I decided I wasn't going to put into paper what magic can and cannot do. It can do almost anything you can think of, but with those limitations. So if you wanted to like cast a spell or manipulate another person, like a charm person, like in a D&D term, if you have built your ley lines wide, you might be able to suggest something to them and be able to influence them, but it's not like a mind domination spell like you might be able to accomplish with deep ley lines. I hope that makes sense. So with that being said, I think I'm pretty much done with putting down on paper everything I already know about Daughters of Necessity. And now I'm ready to move into a phase where I start probing at those blank spaces and those questions I have. I know there are two prominent characters, one of which is the antagonist, that are big blank spaces that I really need to fill in. And with the antagonist, kind of a secondary through line, like a plot. I think I talked about this before, where the primary like threat is just the situation that they're in, and then the antagonist presents almost like a secondary threat, but I do feel like I need both. And because I hadn't really thought about what that secondary threat might be, I need to fill that in. And then there's also the specific MacGuffins that I may need to build this magic spell that'll cure the plague. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have a ton of material. I know the main characters, I know the basics of the setting, the magic, and the plot, but now it is time for me to move on and start filling in the gaps. So I feel like that is a good place to leave this vlog. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, or consider leaving a comment down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me like a web emoji, because that's just like how I'm kind of envisioning like ley lines on the ground. Like someone who built wide, it's like a web, whereas someone who built deep, it's more like roots going real deep. Does that make sense? In my next video, I will be discussing 5 ways you, yes you, can overcome writer's block. I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.
From moonlight until the sun shines. Let me explore, you know.